There are handfuls of people arrested in connection to Matthew Perry's death. The people closest to Matthew were scheming together to steal his money by selling him drugs that would ultimately kill him. They thought it was fun to see how much they could charge this vulnerable guy for drugs he did not need, putting him into his grave. So let's get into it. If you aren't subscribed to the Let's Get Into It podcast, then you're only getting half the tea. For longer videos, deep dives, and of course, more of me, subscribe to the Let's Get Into It podcast listed in the description below. I'm still so upset over the death of Matthew Perry. The Friends star died by drowning in his hot tub, which is such a tragic way to go, especially when high on the drug ketamine, because it's kind of like a tranquilizer. It makes you feel like you don't have control over your body, and you kind of just like fall into it, and even if he was conscious in this moment, he couldn't get himself out of it. But it looks like there will be justice for his death, which is pretty rare nowadays. 5 people have been arrested, 2 of them being doctors, 1 of them being his assistant. They are said to be part of a broad underground criminal network that supplied ketamine to Matthew Perry and others, and took advantage of his addiction issues to enrich themselves. Well, that's not new to Hollywood.
Witness News has learned an arrest will be announced today related to the death of actor Matthew Perry. The Friends actor was found unresponsive in his hot tub at his Pacific Palisades home last October.
We see everyone from agencies to drug dealers seeking out vulnerable stars who have money that they could take from. Matthew Perry was a pretty lonely man, so he was their perfect target. You guys are probably like, wait, who, Sloan? Well, let's get into that. So there are 2 medical doctors and his live-in assistant, and another person known as the Ketamine Queen. I want to stay as far away from her queendom as I can. They have been conspiring to provide drugs to the Friends actor, and it looks like we've got a big supply right here.
This is huge news because it sends a message to drug dealers, people who are providing these types of drugs, that they are not exempt from the law.
They cared more about making money off of him than his well-being. We've got some text messages here. It looks like they say this is what they look like. She sells them all day. She won't go less than $250. One defendant sent an email asking, I wonder how much this moron will pay for the ketamine. So they were just setting him up and making him overpay. Here's our ketamine queen right here. Wow, she kind of like scares me. She looks like a girl I went to high school with that would like super bully me, and now she's like the ketamine queen. Wow. Okay, so let's get into these doctors and this assistant.
And over the 2 months that they were distributing ketamine to Matthew Perry, they gave him approximately 20 vials for an exchange of over $55,000. They said that they saw an opportunity to profit off of Matthew Perry, and they stated, I wonder how much this moron will pay.
Now, his personal assistant, Kenneth, allegedly administered more than 20 shots of ketamine in the last 4 days of his life. And at this time, his assistant was fully aware that Matthew Perry was spiraling out of control and was helping him out.
Following Mr. Perry's death in October of last year, law enforcement, my office, and our partners represented on this stage began an in-depth, wide-ranging investigation. That investigation has revealed a broad, underground criminal network responsible for distributing large quantities of ketamine to Mr. Perry and others. This network included a live-in assistant, various go-betweens, 2 medical doctors, and a major source of drug supply known as, quote, the ketamine queen. We charged 5 defendants in this matter. These defendants took advantage of Mr. Perry's addiction issues to enrich themselves. They knew what they were doing was wrong. They knew what they were doing was risking great danger to Mr. Perry, but they did it anyways. In the end, these defendants were more interested in profiting off Mr. Perry than caring for his well-being.
Eric Fleming is the drug broker who delivered the ketamine from the stash house to Perry's assistant. He threw in ketamine lollipops as an add-on for the large purchase. Authorities say the defendants tried to cover up what they were doing using code, calling ketamine Dr. Pepper in cans and bots. After learning about his death, Ketamine Queen sent out an alarm to her buddy Eric to delete all of their messages, which looks pretty guilty. Now, it looks like his assistant Kenneth and the drug mule Eric have actually worked out a deal. They got plea deals, pleading guilty to conspiracy to distribute ketamine, resulting in death and serious bodily injury. Eric, meanwhile, pled guilty to a pair of charges: conspiracy to distribute and death, and I guess another serious bodily injury charge. Here's Kenneth right here. What an a-hole. Matthew Perry struggled with addiction and drug use throughout his life, and he's been very open about this, so he's super susceptible to people taking advantage of him, and a perfect candidate for someone like this to pump drugs into, because he will willingly take it. He's vulnerable. He's got an issue, so if he's got someone like going up to him and being like, hey, like, take this, you'll feel better, he's gonna do it.
Drug ketamine. He had struggled with addiction to alcohol and drugs during his career, but at the time of his death had been clean for over a year, that according to medical reports, and it's believed that he'd been undergoing therapy using small doses of ketamine to treat depression and anxiety.
Now, this isn't the first time the Ketamine Queen has actually killed someone. She previously sold to a man named Cody, who died of an overdose within hours, so she needs to be really held accountable. This doctor also falsified and altered medical records to federal investigators that sought out to show how he treated Matthew Perry with ketamine that he provided. So Matthew got it from several sources.
Arrests have been made, presumably of those connected to or provided directly the Friend star with the ketamine. It is a drug intended for use as an anesthesia in both humans and pets. Off market, it's known as a club drug, which causes people to disassociate from reality. It can even cause amnesia and has been linked to sexual assaults. Today's operation involved the LAPD and federal agencies, including the U.S. Attorney's Office, the DEA, and the U.S. Postal Service.
A surprising but not so surprising update involves Brooke Mueller. She's best known in Hollywood for her relationship with Charlie Sheen, but we've got an update. This just came out. Brooke has some deep connection to Matthew Perry's death case. TMZ learned that she knew the woman that prosecutors said sold the fatal dose of, oh my gosh, the ketamine queen. And she was super close to the guy prosecutors say delivered the drug that killed Matthew. She aided the police in the investigation, so maybe she's the rat, the one that told on everyone, which, I mean, that's good. We need justice. Brooke actually spent time in rehab with Matthew and the ketamine queen. They were all three at the same LA facility. Ketamine queen was arrested Thursday in connection to Matthew's death, and prosecutors say she's the one who ran the stash house. Brooke is also BFS with Eric, who cut a deal and pled guilty to a pair of charges. Brooke has been extremely close to Matthew Perry for years, and actually Brooke met Charlie Sheen, her husband, at one point at Matthew's house. Brooke has been in rehab this past March, and authorities got a search warrant to go and take her computer and her phone. Brooke has not been arrested yet, and one well-placed source insists she did not testify before a grand jury and did not get immunity before talking to authorities. But we're told that Brooke cooperated with authorities and helped their investigation, which ultimately led to her bestie Eric being charged. Hollywood is a small town, and when you're involved in the drug scene, it gets even smaller. But I do have to question that little conspiracy theorist inside of me, that little conspiracy theorist Sloan. It's like, I wonder if he was like sacrificed. I mean, we've talked about the Batman conspiracy in a past video, so I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you in a new one soon. Bye, guys.